All right, everyone. My name is Dana Rogers. I am the Chapter Services Manager here at AGA National, and I wanted to welcome you to our first pre-lead webinar. And today we're going to be focusing a little bit on chapter resources. All right, so before we begin, I just wanted to talk about two things. This session is going to be recorded, and the recording and materials will be shared with all LEAD attendees, as well as posted on our AGA website, which I'll show you where to find that in a little bit. I will also send out an email directly to the LEAD attendees and anyone who has registered. And the second thing there is, just so you guys know, a little disclaimer is that AI tools may be used to support content, idea generation, meeting summaries, things like that throughout the LEAD webinar series. So we are testing out some of those tools and seeing how they can help us. All right, just so one more different thing before we jump in. If you have attended LEAD in the past or have heard about LEAD, you know that these webinars are something new that we are trying this year. So I just kind of wanted to talk about the why behind these webinars. We really want this to be a way for AGA National, area directors, chapters, and leaders to start working together, leading up to LEAD and beyond. So we really tried to design these sessions to give you the foundational pieces that you'll need before the conferences, such as things like where to find chapter resources. And we also wanted to create a space for you to start thinking more intentionally about your chapter. Now, that could be, maybe there's opportunities that you'd like to lean more into. Maybe there are specific challenges that you are facing that you'd like more support with, whatever that might look like. You guys play a really big part in making our chapter successful. We are so happy for everything that you guys do, and just want to make sure you have the basic tools that you need. You're able to get in the habit of communicating with your area directors, national staff, other chapters throughout this time. So just be comfortable in it before the program year officially starts. So as we go through these sessions, remember, show up, engage, ask questions, talk with others, get ideas, try to apply those with your own chapter, and come back and share how it went. All right, with that being said, get excited because there are 96 days until LEAD. All right, time is flying. So for today, the focus, of course, it's called chapter resource, but what we're really focusing on is building the where is it muscle memory. Because a lot of times we get requests about finding these materials, and we want you to be able to find them without having to wait for someone from AGA National to respond. If you guys do have any questions throughout this time, please use the chat or the raise your hand feature. All right, so starting off, we're going to talk about some tools that AGA offers to all of our chapters, but aren't necessarily found on the chapter resources page of our website. So the first of that is the AGA Google Drive accounts. If you did not know, all chapters do have access to an AGA Google Drive account. You might want to contact your previous chapter president, webmaster, communication, or just CEC in general to ask about that login information. If you don't have it, feel free to reach out to me. What makes the Google Drive accounts great is they can really increase record retention and provide a shared space for chapter use. So a lot of chapters will use the Google Drive to add different materials, let's say bylaws, right? It's an easy one-stop shop that everyone can access rather than, person A has it on their computer and then has to share with person B and C and the edits and all of that stuff. It kind of cleans up that process, as well as when the new program year comes along, all of those things are already stored in your drive rather than having to, again, email them or use some other form to transfer those documents. So I really like Google Drive as a tool. I think it's really great for chapters to use, but we offers a lot of storage space. So that's also great news. You can utilize the Google Slides, Sheets, Google Form is definitely one, and then a lot of people utilize as well. So if you have any more questions about that, let me know, and I will help you out find it. All right, so next thing is our AGA newsletters and meetings. This is a way that you can find out more information about things that are going on with AGA National, or just different chapters, or different meetings that we'll have throughout the years, things like that. So what gets sent to all of our chapter leaders, regardless of your position, is Leadership Matters. That is a monthly newsletter, that goes out. Then we have our town halls. That is open to everyone. It's held monthly or as needed. It definitely coincides with the theme of the month. So for example, CGFM month, that town hall is typically going to happen in March, because March is CGFM month. And then we have Topics. That is another newsletter with AGA National News that's sent bi-weekly to all of our members. And there is an option on your My AGA account to subscribe to these newsletters. So definitely check that out if you have not already. Then we're going to have, some meetings or newsletters that are role specific. So for example, ACE Blast, that's our Achievements in Chapter Excellence program. Those are going to be sent to presidents and ACE chairs. We'll have a whole other webinar that kind of talks about ACE later down the line, so no worries there. Things like the treasurer's chats, those happen quarterly, as well as the NCC meetings, and those also happen quarterly. So just be on the lookout for emails about that. One thing I did want to point out that is really great, I know that some of us have seen our updated website, is our events calendar. So you'll notice that there are a plethora of different options here for your events calendar when you get onto the AGA website. So kind of going through, we've got our comprehensive calendar, kind of how it sounds. It's got a mix of national events, webinars, trainings. These can be CGFM related. They can be things to PDT. They can be our webinars. So a really good mix there. And then you'll notice on the side you can filter those different events as well. One other thing we have is our chapter event calendar. So what's really great about this is if you're using an AGA hosted chapter website and you post an event on there, it will automatically sync with AGA National's website and appear. So it's a great way to search to see what other chapters are doing. Lots of chapters hold virtual CPE events that you are more than welcome to join. So great thing to check out. So speaking of AGA hosted chapter websites, several of you know that the chapter websites were rolled out this year, the new ones. Why do we encourage people to use our chapter websites? Well, it's a great way to stay connected with current and future members. Definitely serves as a digital resume for your chapter. It's most likely the first place people go to find out more information about your chapter. And like I just said, there is that link to AGA National site in which we can promote your chapter events. So a lot of good reasons to have a chapter website there. We also offer administrative support. Laura Duhan has been doing a really great job at having a one-on-one time with our chapters and helping them navigate their new chapter websites. So a great person to speak to if you need assistance with that. And then, who can edit the chapter website? That is any webmaster. And chapters can have multiple webmasters. So unlike our previous sites, it's only webmasters that have access. If you need to add more webmasters, just give me an email. One thing I do want to note is that the way that the process works with the new chapter websites, your old one is still live on AGA's homepage, and we have sent you the information about updating your new website. So that's kind of something you'd be doing behind the scenes. Once you're done updating your new website, you'll send us an email. That will let us know, okay, we should review what you have, and then we will go on our website and switch the old link out with the new link. So that's kind of how that process works there. So if you have not started working on your new website, it's likely that your old one is still up. Now, one thing I do want to note is that the websites will be going away relatively soon. So although historical data and information will be saved somewhere for you guys, it is a good thing to get into sooner rather than later. And then we also have our membership reports. So this is a really, really big one here. Our membership reports I'm not going to read the whole thing, but can provide you a wealth of information about everyone that is currently active in your chapter. It is renewal season, so you can also pull membership reports specific to those members who might have been suspended, they didn't pay their dues on time, sort of thing like that. So this is a really great spot just for you to get more info about your members in your specific chapter. Now, one thing to note is that only active chapter CEC or chapter executive committee members can view membership reports. So you have to be listed as a chapter leader in our database, and that's what grants you the access to those membership reports. Now, let's say you're chapter president and you're like, okay, I'm trying to go access it and it's not there. That is likely at this time due to something with renewals. Maybe you didn't renew your membership and you're listed as suspended, so you won't have that visibility. But once you pay for that and submit that, your access should come right back. So in order to get there, might be like, what is the chapter resources page? I am here to tell you. So the first step that you're always going to want to do is start off by logging into my AGA. And that's my.agacgfm.org. And hopefully lots of you have logged into that before, and this is not your first time hearing about that. So you're going to log in, and then I'll kind of show you where you're going to go from there. In my opinion, this is the easiest way to find chapter resources. So I will show you that. Let's just make sure my screen is still sharing with you. All right, it is. Wonderful. So this is what the screen is going to look like after you've logged into my AGA, and you kind of the base screen here. Now, on the right-hand side here, you will see these helpful links. That is your best friend. Okay? In my opinion, that's the easiest way to get to your chapter resources. And if you have access to membership reports, they'll be here. So just to start off with membership reports. Okay, the screen looks like this. If you have access, you'll click on whichever report that you want. And then it will show you a list. Now mine looks a little different just because I work at National. You will not have the option to filter through all of the chapters, just your chapter will come up. And then you'll see you have that membership report there and the option to export it however you'd like. Most people prefer Excel. All right, so back to what we were discussing, which was chapter resources. Again, I think that this is the easiest way to make it over to chapter resources is to click from here. Option number 2 is you could go to this search bar, excuse me. You could go to this search bar, type in chapter resources, and find it that way. Okay, Tony has a question. How often are those reports updated? Is it instantaneous? I believe that they are updated relatively instantaneously. I wouldn't say like, a member joins them immediately, but probably within 20 minutes. That's a good question. All right, so a few things that I kind of want to point out in chapter resources. You'll see that the look of this has changed. So on this side here, you can kind of expand underneath the columns. So the first two are kind of like what they sound like, right? Chapter visit requests, marketing materials. A few things I wanted to point out. If you are the ACE reporting chair, right? We have this ACE section here, which will lead you to templates, handbooks, reporting forms, and pulse checks. We will have an entire separate webinar about ACE, so stay tuned for that. Something else I wanted to point out, we have our handbooks here. They're all listed together. Some great resources for you to look through if you have not already. And then in our administrative items, there's a lot of good example resources here. So we have those house slides for chapters. They're kind of like PowerPoint slides that go over all the AGA promotions that are happening at the time. We have sample bylaws, Zoom backgrounds, etc. Two things I wanted to point out specifically in this section is the NCSF donation match request. So I had a slide for it, but I just wanted to show you. In case you do not know, AGA will match chapter raised donations up to $500 per fiscal year. The fiscal year just started. It runs from April 1st to March 31st. So this is a great way, to just get involved with those charities as well, if you have them. Another thing that I wanted to point out as LEAD attendees is the LEAD 2026 page, which you will see right here. So a lot of this information you already know or probably have received some sort of email from me about. But one thing I wanted to point out is I said that the resources from these meetings will be posted, and that's going to be posted right here. So there's nothing there yet since this is our first meeting, but stay tuned. So it's a good resource for you to look at. All right. Just a couple other things I wanted to point out because I do want you guys to do some exploration with this, is that you will see in meetings and events, we've got some speaker catalogs here that can be really useful, some different type of articles about CPEs, how to send them, partnerships, things like that. So again, good resources. Under young professionals, it's not there yet, but what the higher ed committee is working on is a toolkit to support kind of a boots on the ground effort, if you will, to promote government financial management and colleges, universities, high schools, etc. So stay tuned for that. And then one thing I wanted to point out in the CGFM section, because we get asked about this a lot, is do you guys have a list of new CGFMs? And we do. So that is going to be right here. And the way that that is updated for you guys who did not know we have that is posted monthly by the end of the month for the previous month. So that's a little confusing. So for example, the list for March will be posted by April 30th. Okay. Any questions so far? Because I know I've talked about a lot. All right, we'll keep it moving.
Dana, I'm sorry. Actually, I do have a couple of questions.
All
This
right,
is
let's hear
Paul.
it, Paul.
Sure. On the Google Drive accounts, you mentioned that it does not allow you access to Gmail. I wasn't clear on what you meant by that.
Oh, great question. So typically, if you have access to a Google Drive account, you immediately have a Gmail account connected to it. So like my personal Gmail account also has its own Google Drive. Unfortunately, because of, domain properties and different things like that, we're unable to do that with our Google Drive accounts. Does that help clear it up?
So, yeah, I mean, are you talking about there being some connection between my own personal Google Drive associated with my personal email address and the chapter's Google Drive?
No, this would just be the chapter's Google Drive. So like, for
Yeah,
example,
that we use the chapter Google Drive extensively for DC chapter. So,
right.
and my email address is my login to access that Google Drive.
Yes. So for some of you, like for your chapter's Google Drive, right? Like for example, let's go with the DC chapter. There's going to be one Google Drive. It'll show you the option to like enter Gmail, but it won't actually work when you send things. You'll get like a message back that says, undeliverable. So that's kind of what I wanted to point out there.
So we can't send emails to our chapter's Google Drive account.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Thank you. And also, you mentioned chapter websites can only be updated by the chapter webmaster. Can more than one person be designated as a chapter webmaster?
That is a wonderful question, and the answer is yes. You can
Okay.
have as many chapter webmasters as you see fit. You just got to let us know, and we'll add them on.
Okay. And then you mentioned that both the old and the new websites are still up? I'm concerned. I myself got confused by that because I was pointing out issues with our chapter website to our webmaster, but I was looking at the old chapter website and he was looking at the new chapter website. How soon did you say the old chapter websites are going to be shut down?
Probably we're thinking within the next month. I don't have a definitive date on that yet. Just to clarify something though, so when you go to our chapter directory, um, there I the new websites and the old websites, like both of them are not live at this time. So again, I'm going to go with the Washington DC chapter as an example. We sent out an email to chapter leaders in the DC chapter telling them, hey, your new website is ready. Please work on it as much as you can. And when you're ready for it to go live, let us know and we'll review it. So if your chapter has made changes to the template for the new website, and emailed us and said, hey, we're done. We're ready for AGA Nationals. We'll approve it. We will do that and then make it live on this page. If you have not emailed us and said, hey, our new website is ready to go live, then the link here should connect to your old chapter website. Does that clarify things, Paul?
Yeah, so as long as you're using this page, you're going to get to the current website, whether the chapter's still on the old or they've transitioned onto the new one. But the old
Correct.
websites are still out there, so if you have a link in your favorites, you still could end up at the old website.
Correct. Correct. And then
Okay.
eventually we're going to phase out to just the new websites on here. But of course, we'll notify chapters of that happening.
Okay.
Great
And
question.
on membership reports, you said you have to be on the CEC to be able to access the membership reports. Is that correct?
That is also correct. Yes.
Okay. And if you belong to multiple chapters, well, I guess you can't, you're unlikely to be on the CEC for multiple chapters, so never mind.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
that's it.
Great set of questions. I appreciate it. I
Sure.
appreciate it. Do we have any other questions? All right. So let me see. Does anyone remember before I show you the easiest way to get to chapter resources? Some test. Hmm, okay. We will find out. All right. Let me get my PowerPoint back up here. Make sure you. My group definitely talked a little bit about some of the sample resources that we have, such as the sample membership survey that is listed in chapter resources. They found it very helpful to just kind of be able to edit certain parts and send that out, along with being able to receive those responses in their Google Drive. So I was kind of telling them a little bit about how to add that to their Google Drive and pulling those responses as well. And then another thing that we discussed that kind of was in both was the marketing materials section. A lot of people know that there are marketing materials that can be ordered through AGA, but not custom marketing materials. So that was one thing we discussed. And talking about adding links for tablecloths that can have chapter logos, as well as things like retractable banners. So some great conversations there. And then I also just wanted to pass it over to Paul to share any insights that you had from your breakout session.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So, something that I just thought about that I didn't even bring up in the last session is, the reason I thought about this is I'm looking at my image on camera and realize, oh, I saw in what Dana was showing, they have the AJ backgrounds. I should probably start using those. So that's one thing that I'll probably have up for the next meeting. Um, as far as things that folks didn't know about, a useful resource, one was Google Drive. Some people knew about it and their chapter was using it. Others had not taken advantage of it yet. Someone mentioned they use it at work and have found it to be quite useful and didn't know that it was available for their AGA chapter. So that was definitely, and that's something that I mentioned that with the DC chapter we found very useful as far as trying to get all of our chapter information onto the Google Drive. So it's our repository for everything related to the chapter. Um, Someone else mentioned the speaker catalog in the chapter visit request section. That was helpful and that they didn't know about. And one of the things I also mentioned was the fact that AJ leadership and area director leadership, I guess that's the same thing in effect, are available to come out to chapters and serve as speakers, and that there are other people who are not in leadership who have volunteered to visit chapters and speak. So if you're struggling to find speakers, that's a good place to look. As far as things that the team uh, wish existed, we didn't really get much in with respect to that. And guys, if I'm forgetting anything, just pop it in the chat or something. But a lot of the stuff they're hearing about for the first time, um, people have been able to go out and visit the resources pages to varying degrees. I think as they use it more, they might identify things that they need. And what I mentioned is that, sorry, Dana, I told everybody that if you have ideas, they should email you and pester you like I do on a regular basis. So any
That
ideas
is
should go to
correct.
Dana
That is
on,
correct.
on,
Thank you,
on both
Paul.
points, right? Both points.
Yes. Yes. So if you guys have, I was actually just going to say that, you'll probably think of things as you continue to explore chapter resources and use it more. So if you do think of things, um, I know we actually, Anne, have been thinking about a chapter resources button. So stay tuned for that one, but also trying to incorporate it so that it's aesthetically pleasing. But you have any other recommendations, of course, just email me. It's me, and we'll get it up there as soon as we can, if possible. So thank you, Paul, for sharing. I appreciate that. And thank you, everyone, for your participation within your breakout groups and your flexibility today, since we have people that weren't able to make it. So just kind of a little closing here. I wanted to tell you about what is next. Again, this is going to be a slide that you see through each of the webinar series. So before our next session, I would request that you submit one question or challenge that you would like us to discuss, whether that be in a webinar, it could be at LEAD, perhaps it's something that we could address in the next program year. I am really big at getting feedback from chapters and their leaders because you guys are the ones making all the strings work and pulling everything together. So if you have questions or challenges, please, please, please submit that. As well, apply one idea from today with your chapter. So maybe if you're someone who didn't know you had a Google Drive, reach out, let me know, and explore that. Take a deeper dive into chapter resources, see what you can find. And in our next session, it's going to be 2 weeks from now. It is going to be talking about leadership roles. We're going to have some breakout groups with previous leaders so you guys can ask some questions. The Zoom link for that will be the same. So good information there. All right. So as we wrap up, remember, we want to keep momentum between the sessions. So I'm sure some of you like to do just say submit to something. I did. Now I've made it easy for you, so that's a good thing. What I would like for you to do is submit one question or challenge, and then there is a form. Oops, that's a link. Form for you to be able to do so. So if you can see the screen. I'll show you it from this view. So if you go here, I'm in chapter resources, by the way. You go down to the LEAD 2026 page and click on that. You'll notice that there is a button here to submit your question or challenge. Very easy stuff here. Most of the information is filled in already. You just got to pick the webinar session, your area, and your question and submit that. So I will send you guys a link to that submission portal in my follow-up email. But that is all that I have for today. So thank you guys again for joining. Thank you for your participation. I look forward to the rest of our webinars. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.